Hey, I'm Mete Poole, editor of Guns and Ammo magazine. Welcome to the conversation on Guns and Ammo's Bud podcast. I have Adam Ruonala with us and Jim Tarr. Adam is the vice president of marketing over at Century Arms and Canik, as well as other host of brands. And Jim Tarr is the handgunning editor for Guns and Ammo magazine. Also, proven shooter. You're not too bad with a pistol, are you, Jim?
I've fired one or two shots. Yes.
Awesome. Hey, thank you for joining us. And Adam, I noticed behind you, you have a excellent article. I think it's your other shoulder. Yep. of from last year's. This is our flashy cover featuring the Canik TTI Combat. There's the entire article on your wall. I'm glad to see the pride. That was a fun story, but July 2025 issue, if you missed that. You've got another one in the July 2025 issue. That TTI Combat was reviewed last year for 2024. 2025, we're introducing a new pistol. Jim Tarr, thank you for writing it up. This is the Canik Mete MC9 Prime 9mm, a flat shooting pistol. Tell us a little bit about your experience on the range with it, Jim.
Well, first off, I've gotta do this. Adam, correct me if I'm wrong. It's not meat, it's mete, and it's the Turkish word that means brave or valiant.
It does. Well done. Look at you. You know, that is spoken like a true writer. A little due diligence before we got on here. I like that. I like that. Yeah, absolutely. So it was actually that name was that origin of classification for our line of pistols was actually picked by the Turkish government when we officially got our first tender with them. So that line of pistols was actually designed in specifications what they were looking for a line of pistols. And when this was done, they actually picked that. It was actually named after a Turkish general who is considered one of like the liberation fighters in bringing democracy to Turkey. So it's a pretty cool heritage.
Oh, and just to think, it's been about 100 years since Turkey got its independence. But what's interesting here is we got Jim, Adam, myself. We've all been to Turkey, and it's a kind of an unusual assemblage. Adam, can you tell us a little bit about that Turkish influence in manufacturing? What about their country and culture? How does it weave its way into your products?
Yeah, absolutely. So, in order to kind of understand it, I think, it used to be that I would tell the story from how Canik first came into the United States with the distribution help of Century. But what I think is really unique now is the fact that we can actually start from the present and work our way back a little bit. So, right now, we obviously have, you were just talking about the Prime, which is really exciting to say is our very first American made pistol by the Canik USA facility, which is right here in West Palm Beach. It's actually the facility I'm in right now. And it is so exciting to say that all the hard work that the Turkish team, the American team did over the last 13 years together here in the United States has led to where we're at now. And it was an amazing undertaking to not only build this facility from dirt in the ground to manufacturing the first pistol, which one we think is hands down probably the culmination of the evolution of technology and hard work that Canik has kind of instilled in their products and in their people to where we are now with this product is so exciting. And it all starts from the fact that, like you said, the Turkish pride is such a beautiful thing. When people talk to me about what's it like over there, you always get, is it? I've heard it's pretty. Is it safe? How's the food? Those are the questions that you get. And my question is, it's beautiful. It is absolutely beautiful over there. For the most part, it's safe. Just like any other country, just like any city, you just still have to have situational awareness. The food is awesome. And what it really reminds me of is kind of what America was 20, 25 years ago. Does that make sense? And that's not a knock. I'm so proud to be an American, but people actually have Turkish pride over there, not just for their country, but for how others view them. So there's such a level of intensity and urgency in everything they do. There's such a level of pride in what they do. So then when you find that good mix, it's amazing to see what can come from that. So you can come out with stuff quicker than a lot of other places can, ability, speed to market, and do it in a quality performance out the gate. And ultimately, because of the economic differences between America and Turkey, a lot of times you're able to provide that value at a much more affordable price. And that's kind of been the strengths that Canik used to really kind of get a foothold in the U.S. market. And here we are now, and it's exciting to talk about it.
I was just there in February 2025, so it's pretty fresh on my mind. One thing I remember is everywhere you went, even every office, every conference room, there had to be 4 or 5 Turkish flags on the wall in some way representing the country. I've never seen that many, that much pride in the culture, the heritage, and their history shown. It kind of reminds me a little bit after the United States, after 9/11, when every vehicle had an American flags, magnetic sticker on their car, or in the sticker in the wall. I mean, it was everywhere you turned around, there was that American flag. So there's a lot of parallel that I kind of drew. One thing I'm kind of curious if it translates to your West Palm Beach location. I also remember that there is a teapot in almost every corner there, and it seems like every 10 minutes they're taking a break to have some tea.
The amount of Turkish coffee and chai, the tea as they call it, that flows through this building should be legal in terms of the regulation of caffeine. I remember when the facility first opened. I came in the morning. I'd be drinking my Celsius, which is actually made right down here too. So my 300 milligrams of caffeine was already in my system. And then there's a chai sitting in front of me, which I thought was just tea. I didn't know there's like 80 milligrams of caffeine in every one of those. So I'm housing these, and by halfway through the day, I'm chewing my cheeks off, and I don't understand why, but it made for staying till 7, 8 p.m. on those long days, getting it started a lot easier. You know what I mean?
Well, hey, Jim, tell us a little bit about your experience. You were there several more years beyond us, but
It's been about a decade since I was in Turkey, and I didn't know what to expect. And I went to Turkey, and then I went to Germany, and I enjoyed Germany less than I thought I would. Germany is like Ohio. Everybody speaks English. It's like Ohio, only with better cars and worse food. Turkey, on the other hand, it was fabulous. I enjoyed myself. I'm in the Detroit area, so I wouldn't know anything about high crime areas. First off, um, and we have a high concentration of Middle Easterners here, and I love the food, and the food in Turkey was similar to that, and I loved it. And then the country is beautiful. Istanbul, there's modern areas, and then there are pre-Roman ruins. We went up to visit some manufacturing facilities near the Black Sea, which was very picturesque up there. We went down to the what they call the Turkish Riviera down in the Antalya region, where there are all the Russian and German tourists because the prices there are about a 1/3 of where you'd get if you went to France. And then going to the manufacturing facility, I happen to be there for Sarsılmaz, not for Tisas or any of the other well-known Turkish manufacturers, but it was all brand new CNC machines, and I'm sure this is exactly what you're getting with Canik is brand new CNC machines don't know what country they're in. It's all computers, it's all numbers, and it's whether or not you're at the front end plugging in the right numbers and at the back end doing proper QC. And clearly, Canik has been doing that over there because the quality and workmanship of all the guns coming out of Turkey from you and everybody else has just gone through the roof. And there's a reason why the MC9 has been so popular. In addition to all your other products, is because the gun works, it's solid, and then the Prime seems to be just a fabulous, improved it in every way you can possibly think of version of the MC9, and I think it's really been a home run on that front.
well, let me also lead into a transition. You bring up some good points, but there's a couple of common threads. One is the leadership, and then there's the work ethic. Adam, you're now making these pistols in West Palm Beach. How easy or difficult, challenging was it to source good leaders? And workers to create that similar dynamic, if not an improved one, at your West Palm Beach facility?
That's a great question. And it's something that honestly was a huge point of focus before we ever really, like, as we say, open the doors. Um, it starts from the top. It really, really does, in my opinion. You know, sailors are going to get on the ship of the captain they believe in, right? And so I think with me, what I was very curious to see was how was that moral compass, that ethical compass, that work compass going to be pointing, and who was going to be on it. And it's really nice to see we have a joint leadership here. So, as you guys know, Century Arms initially started as the distributor for Canik in the United States in 2012, back when they didn't even know who they were or who they weren't. They were just trying to get a foot in the game, and quickly grew into kind of what it is now. That organization is led from the Turkish side by a young man, he's my age. So yeah, young man, named Utku Aral. And Utku Aral is the son of Zafar Aral, who kind of was the legacy behind Canik as a company in the SYS group, and now is being really taken into the next generation by Utku Aral. Utku Aral's office is 5 feet from mine, and he's here right now. He lives in Istanbul. He's here right now. He's been, since this facility opened in October, I'd say there's been more days that he's been here than he hasn't been here. Then on the USA side, when Canik USA opened, Canik USA is a joint venture between Century Arms and Canik, so that actually 50% of it's owned by Century Arms, 50% of it is owned by Canik. So now you have to store that leadership side from the Century side, which also gives that U.S. influence as well. That is William Suture. William Suture is also a young man. Myself, Utku, and William are all 6 months within age of each other, all 42 years old. So with that, then you have William's office is 5 feet from me in the other direction. Um, William comes, he's the son of the founder of Century Arms. Both of these gentlemen, I hope they don't ever watch this, are two of the smartest men I've ever worked for in my entire life. They are not only smart, but they play off each other well. Very different personalities, very different personality from me, but they complement each other to the fact of like iron sharpening iron. You know what I mean? One's an analytics guy, one is a passionate businessman, and then they just have the big dumb golden retriever in me to run around and lick faces and bark every once in a while. But what they've done together is created this culture that is a symbiotic nature between what is that hunger of the Turkish manufacturing side to really truly validate themselves as a major player, and then the business savvy of the American side on, okay, this is great, it's a dream, but let's turn it in from a pipe dream to a reality. And that's where those two play together. And so you took this infrastructure that was Turkey and you brought it over here, and he brought 40 employees to kind of get this off the ground. And they did everything from install the machines to do the initial testing, to teach the team here. And Utku said, listen, we're going to go out and hire some of the best in the U.S. in terms of the best and the brightest. And then I also want to hire the up and coming that know nothing but have a passion for it. Because I can teach them the Canik way. What I can't do is unteach the ways that aren't in line with the level of passion we have to have for it. You know what I mean? If that makes sense. I can teach somebody how to run a CNC machine and, like you say, put the numbers in on the front side and the level of testing that we need on the back side to make sure this is up there. What I can't teach is somebody that's willing to get up an hour early and stay an hour late to actually get this going. That when this gun is on the cover of Guns and Ammo, when they see this store at a range, when they see somebody running it or carrying it for personal protection, that is going to fuel them to continue to do more. Because the hours right now are grueling, they're long. There's a lot of learning curves that come with building up a factory. So you need those people that are like, no matter how bad it gets or no matter how good it is, my passion is going to stay the same. And that's the people part. That's the people part that you ultimately, like you said, CNC machines don't know where they're at. They just do what they're told. People, what's great about us is we have our own opinions, we have our own passions. And ultimately in this country, it's so great. We're allowed to do what we want to do for the most part. So we want people that want to be here. You know what I mean? And that's what it is. On the manufacturing side, we brought in actually one of the top 10 Microsoft geniuses in the world. We brought him in to actually help from the technological side. So everything in this facility is linked 24/7, 365 to our Turkish facility. To the point of, even like you said, a CNC machine is going down. We have guys in Turkey that can put on an Oculus and work on the machine from Turkey, 7,000 miles away. We have sensors in all of our machines that say, hey, this tool is at 80% of wear and tear, like 80% of its tool life, and it's already triggering in another room in the facility, building that tool again and ready to be installed in the facility, so that there's never even that point of the tool's still fine, but maybe there's going to be a quality issue. Everything is run with that level of pride. So if we have to eat a little cost, but know that these things are coming out perfect, we're going to do it. So it's just that constant drive for being superior, which obviously stays in our name, the superior firearms. And that's what we are. Everything about this has to make a good first impression. And hopefully we're doing that with the Canik Mete MC9 Prime.
Awesome. Well, a lot to take in right there. One of the things that I'm kind of curious about, and I believe some others listening would be, do you anticipate that the West Palm Beach facility is going to grow to a point that you don't necessarily need to import as much from your Turkish partners? And if that's the case, will the Canik and Turkey end up supporting more of the European market versus the U.S., or are they going to continue to be necessary side by side in order to support the U.S. market?
So the way I can put this, so our growth from in 2019 when I started to now, we are doing more pistols a month than we were doing a year uh, as Canik from 2019 to 2025, to put it in perspective. Um, if every machine in this 162,000 square foot facility was running 3 shifts a day, 365 days a year, we could not facilitate the number of guns that we are doing monthly, if that makes sense. With that being said, I think there is a special place for what we're doing here, because what a lot of people don't know about Canik is that we're actually, the SYS group as a whole has quickly become one of the largest defense category manufacturers in the world now as well. So we are actually one of the world's largest 50 cal machine gun manufacturers, and we are the largest manufacturer of 20, 25, and 30 millimeter cannons, as well as the robotic integration systems for all 4 of those platforms. So we actually have around the world over 1 million square feet of manufacturing space. So while it'd be great to say, 90% of everything coming out of Canik is out of the United States, the reality is that we still need our facilities in Turkey. We actually have facilities in Ascot, England. And we also now have the facility in the United States as well. In order to continue to grow the way we're growing and to have the level of excellency that we demand, and to be able to provide it to the consumer at the price points that they have come to love about Canik, we need to utilize all the space we can get to hit that. So I think it's going to you're going to see that symbiotic mix for quite some time. And, our plans to grow in the United States are evident in what we're doing. But I think to say that everything is coming out of the United States anytime soon is going to be tough to do, and I don't even know if we want to. But there will be very specific products like the Prime and some other stuff that we got in the works that'll definitely be, with a stamp of all of that American made.
So, Jim, we see Canik, of course, now is on the silver screen. You've seen its use, with the whole John Wick series, and Taryn Butler, of course, has got some great videos featuring those products as well. And you could almost ask the question, hey, does a movie inject a whole bunch of revenue for creative development in there? But where would you like to see some of the Canik pistols go from, especially with, now they're in the carry market, they're in the competitive shooting market, they're in the movies?
Well, Nils Jonasson was sponsored by you guys, and he won the national championship shooting a Canik. So they've already, when it comes to titles under their belt, they've already got the top of the line already achieved. And then the TTI Combat, the Canik TTI Combat, which came out last year. I've known Taryn Butler for almost 20 years. Since we were waiting in line at the USPSA Nationals in Tulsa, Oklahoma, and got started talking about movies, actually. Um, and back when he was doing the Hollywood training back then, but it was all behind the scenes, and he wasn't really getting any credit for it, but he was doing it. And the problem is he's seen so much success that the custom guns that he's been putting out, the Glocks and the Staccatos that are the TTI Combat Masters, I think they start at $3 and go up to like $7,000, and you're going to be waiting most of a year, if not two, to get them. And so he tried collaborating with a number of other companies, and they didn't get it, or were just a nightmare to work with, to quote him. And meanwhile, he went and talked to Canik, and he liked everything that he heard, and he worked with them and came out with the Canik TTI Combat, which is on sale for about $1,000, and you can actually find them. And it's a full size gun. It looks great. It's got some unique features. It's fun as heck to shoot. It's easy to shoot. I wouldn't consider it a carry gun, although I've carried guns that big. But on that note, so you've got that on the full
It did
size
raise the
side.
bar on triggers. It
Oh
had an
yeah.
excellent trigger too.
Well, we are people that are just in the past 5 or 10 years that are coming into the gun market don't understand the nightmare that the 80s were when it came to trigger pulls. The only gun in the 1980s that actually had a decent trigger pull was the 1911. And everything else was like a double action or single action, where the double action was 12 or 15 pounds, and it felt like you were dragging a trailer hitch through gravel. And now most of the guns on the market, the trigger pulls, even the bad ones, are 6.5 or 7 pounds and crisp. But the Canik pistols, they've been popular in part because they've had good trigger pulls, and even people that don't necessarily know much, they can tell the difference between a good trigger pull and a trigger pull that sucks. And then so the trigger pull on the TTI Combat was great. And then if you want to go towards the MC9, the MC standing for micro compact, the original Caniks were full-size guns, and even the cut-down versions, the subcompact versions, were still thick, and they were a little bit of a chunk in your pants if you were going to carry it. The MC9, even though I believe they use the same magazine, um, but maybe I'm confusing. It's been a long day. They were thinner, and so they were much.
So universal.
Okay. So they were thinner, and they were much more conducive to concealed carry. And the original MC9, it had a short 3.1-inch barrel, and then I think flush 12-round magazines, and it was a great micro compact or subcompact pistol. However, the thing with pistols like that is the smaller the gun is, the easier it is to carry and the harder it is to shoot. And so people started wanting upsized versions of that. So there's the original MC9, and then there's the MC9L, which stretches the grip down so that it takes flush 17-round magazines. And then there was the MC9LS, which extended the barrel from 3.1 to 3.64 inches. And then the Prime is basically the ultimate version of the MC9LS that has every sort of upgrade and improvement that you could possibly want. It's ported, it's got great sights, it's got fabulous texturing on the grip. That's not just it's more aggressive, but it covers more of the grip. There are no smooth areas anymore. The thing that people are going to notice first is maybe the porting, but then they also might notice the trigger. So the trigger is wide, and then the lever on it is is flat and gold, which I think looks great, and it's got like diamond texturing on it, and the trigger pull on it is fabulous. The sample I had, I measured it, and it came in at 4.5 pounds in crisp, which is perfect for a carry gun. And the gun looks great. It's got solid ergonomics. It's reliable. It's got good sights. It's optics ready. And then it's got all of the extra aesthetics and looks that really elevate it. You know, you've got cutouts in the slide, not just for the ports in the barrel, but to show off the flats in the barrel, and etched into the top of the barrel is the word prime, which is very cool. It doesn't provide any increased function, but if you want a gun that looks cool, and you know, you've got cutouts on it, you got the name of the gun on the top of the barrel. um as I've told people, you know, a lot of times people come to me, it's like, okay, I read your review, what do you really think? I'm like, as I mentioned before we went online, I shot a match this weekend with my son, who's just back from the Army, and somebody was asking me about this gun. What do I think? I said, I think it's $1,000 gun. This price at $600. That's what I think, and I mean it. It's a great gun, and the fact that you're able to put all of that in a gun that's not made in Turkey, but that's made in the U.S. Uh, at that price point, and then you don't just get the gun, you get an entire package. You get a hard case with it that's got the back straps, and the magazines, and the tools, magazine loader, uh, cleaning stuff, a holster. I forget, it comes with a holster that you can either wear inside or outside the waistband. And then the case, it's a Pelican style case that you can lock if you want to go traveling with it. It's just, it's a home run, and I hope you guys are seeing the kind of sales and are experiencing a huge back order for that product that you're working hard to satisfy, so that your distributors don't get too mad at you.
Well,
Yeah. Go ahead, buddy.
yeah, I got to say, you know, wow, Jim, you just basically gave us another review. Thank you for that. But that hard case is actually an example of how Canik really goes the extra mile, because a lot of companies out there only have to sell their pistol to the person at the counter. They feel that trigger, they work that slide, the deal is done, they buy the gun. But then the dealer goes in the back room and gets the box. Generally, it's a cardboard piece with the pistol lock in it and a manual. And here the dealer comes out with like another present, a gift to that customer who just already committed to spending his money. And it contains all the things you described, and it's fully functional. And that's how you get that repeat customer, because then, of course, the next pistol that person buys, he sees, what is this? I bought a pistol, I'm getting a cardboard box. Give me a Canik. I get the whole package. Good job, Adam. Did we forget anything?
No, I don't even know why I'm here, to be honest with you. I'm just going to send you my polo, and you guys can rock this from now on. Yeah, so no, it's true though, and that's the thing is, Canik wants to provide value in everything we do, and obviously there's a significant cost with the case. There's a significant cost in the G-code holster, the extra mags, all of that. But when you look at genuinely what it's worth and what that does for the consumer, this is how Canik has gone from being not even in the top 10 in terms of striker fire pistols in this country to top 4, you know, in that time. Because the reality is, the American consumer supports companies they believe in with their wallet. And they might buy one, to your point. I think, Jim, I think the example was so true about, you know, the sale is made at the counter when they're working the slide and the trigger, but then the added value and the surprise that so many people get when they see our case is what keeps them coming back. And then we got a lot of dealers now that are trying to figure out how to actually put the case in the case, you know, in the gun case, so people can see all the value that they get. And we're having conversations with like Academy and everybody else, like, there's limited space in the actual gun counter, but could we put graphics up or something like that for people to understand what all it comes with? Because right there, even in, you know, a very simple case, you're getting an extra $150 in value between everything else is there. So that's important to us. And there will be times where we'll have some very exclusive, like some deals just to get, get more of our guns in people's hands. But for the most part, we're always going to bring that added value. And that's kind of a Canik tradition and a Canik statement in regards to how we view the American consumer.
Is often secured a reputation as being a brand that prioritizes products for cost-conscious shooters, if you will. Do you ever see Canik really reaching up and expanding to compete more directly with those higher price, that level of high price products, to round out the business model? What's your plans here?
So I think we've kind of done that in a sense, but even still disrupting that market too. I mean, to James' point, like you have the Prime, which really should, if you look at the feature sets and benefits on it, it really is competing against others in that category that have a significantly higher price tag. You have the TTI Combat, which obviously is, $2,000 cheaper than any other thing with the TTI brand on there, but has a lot of unique feature sets that would traditionally come with a $1,500 to $2,000 gun. You have the Rival S, which is our steel frame pistol, that won Handgun of the Year. That literally is an $899 gun, $949 MSRP, things like that. Gun that is going against some other amazing guns like the Shadow and some other really great steel frame guns that are good guns. And as a gun guy, I would never ever bash another brand. Because I think all of us are needed, and there needs to be options in order to truly elevate the brands. I own a Shadow, but the reality is, like, if you look at where they are, they're a little bit different platforms, but what they are and what they accomplish, the fact that ours is $800, $1,000 cheaper, we're there. We're just choosing how we want to position ourselves. But to answer the question of, are we going to keep elevating and adding more feature sets that ultimately have a little bit of a cost that we have to pass on? Of course, we've got some really cool things in the work, but we don't want to ever be seen, because some people will view that as, oh, they're getting ahead of themselves, they're getting full of themselves. Here's Canik going corporate kind of thing. So we're very conscious about how we position these in the market, because we still want to be the people's gun. We want to be that gun that has a cult following, because Sig, Glock, they're all great companies, and they've made major moves in this market, and are a huge part of why we are so passionate about the Second Amendment. And we want to be able to provide that level of volume to the consumer, but we also like being the Rocky Horror Picture Show. That it's not for everybody, but the people that are, we're really proud of it, and that's kind of what got us to where we are. The people that love us are Canik fanatics, and we're adding to that daily. And frankly, our production is where we are, and we're growing, but I don't want to have a bunch of pissed off people out there that can't get one. And right now, if too many more people did it, we'd be in trouble. So, I mean, that's where we are. The TTI Combat was on back order for a year. The Prime, we have 35,000, I think we're back ordered right now, and we're pumping them out as fast as we can. Like, we want to continue to grow and be a player in this market, but at the same time, when somebody says, "Oh, I've never heard of Canik," which still happens from time to time, to me, that's not a bad thing. That means there's so much more opportunity to spread our brand out there. And the biggest thing we do to do that is getting it in the hands of people. I call it the taste test challenge. People are on the range and they're like, "Oh, what is that?" And as soon as, like, to James' point, as soon as you shoot a Canik, you're like, "That's a good gun." And they're like, "Yeah, and guess how much I paid for it?" Right then, that brand ambassador that didn't know they were a brand ambassador is our biggest marketing effort ever. And I think for any of us, like, the three of us go to the range and I shoot your gun and you tell me you love it, and it hasn't let you down, I'm a lot more inclined to consider purchasing one, spending my hard-earned money, than just a radio ad, or what I mean, something like that. It's a lot more personal, and I think it has a lot more metric.
So you mentioned a little bit about the economy there, and it's interesting considering a lot of your customers, first came to Canik because of the value and the pricing structure of those pistols. Do you see an effect with what's going on as of this recording, May 2025? How are tariffs affecting your business?
Yeah, so I mean, there is going to be an effect. Obviously, in Turkey right now, I don't mind saying there's been a 10%. There's a 10% tariff currently in place. With that being said, we at this point have decided to eat that margin. We have been trying to keep the prices consistent. If this is something that is a long-term enforcement, we'll have to make a decision. But right now, we didn't want to make a rash decision. We're fortunate enough, obviously, with the Prime being manufactured here in the United States, that hasn't been affected in terms of the launch. But the reality is that, yeah, absolutely, there are tariffs in place, and that's 10% is a significant amount when you're running on the kind of margins we are, because we don't want to jack up our prices, and we want to be a price competitive model even for the value that we bring. And then the reality is, let's call a spade a spade. Um, people are very conscious about how they're spending their money right now. Obviously, we're starting to have that return to normal and a little bit more comfort, but you know, people are uncertain with things that are going on. Obviously, we have a president in now that is making some aggressive moves to try to bring back that sense of economic stability in our country that maybe wasn't there over the last couple of years, and we saw the long term impact of that. So I think people are a little more conscious. So the industry as a whole, as we all know, is down this year. And it's down aggressively. Canik's been fortunate enough with the new products we've released and kind of the new cult following that we have to not experience it on the level that some of our competitors have, but it's there. So yeah, we have to be aware of that. And one of the big things we did a couple of years ago, about 4 or 5 years ago, that people really loved was we did the thing called the One Series, and the One Series was kind of that box with one mag and the gun, and it was, hey, I need a gun, but I've got to be conscious about what I do right now. We did that, but we just literally slashed the price on it, and it was a huge mover for us, but it wasn't traditional to the Canik brand. So what we're thinking right now is, hey, is this something that the U.S. consumer needs right now? And if so, do we want to bring it back? It's not a huge moneymaker for us, but it's something like, is this how we support those who have supported us by having a really, really value price one? So we're even in conversation with that right now, even though we don't need to. If that's what the U.S. consumer needs to be able to support their Second Amendment rights, then who are we to say we're not ready to do it for them?
All right. Well, Adam, thank you so much for joining us. It's about that time to wrap it up. And in the meantime, let me encourage people to also explore Century products. I mean, we could have gone on another 4 hours, I believe. You've got Century products, Red Army Standard, ammunition, U.S. Palm. And don't forget the surplus corner. I actually love checking out the website, just seeing what firearms you've managed to acquire and offer through that part of your business. But we got to have you back. And thank you, Jim, for coming on and talking to us a little bit about that pistol, actually giving us the lowdown on the features and details. And until next time, this has been the Guns and Ammo Buzz podcast.